He was holding his phone. You know exactly who I'm talking about. He was holding his phone out filming. He approached the front of the car. He continued to hold his phone while he drew his weapon. He continued to hold his phone while he shot someone in the face. He continued to hold his phone while he didn't even have to move out of the way of the car. And he continued to hold his phone throughout the whole interaction. You're not even allowed to operate a motor vehicle while you're using your phone, let alone make nuanced life and death decisions while operating a deadly weapon. If you were holding your phone filming, oh shit. Sorry, I just almost stepped in dog poop, and having to sidestep it made me drop my phone. That was just because I almost stepped in poop. If you are in danger of your life, if you fear for your life and you don't even drop your phone, if you have to draw a lethal weapon and you don't even drop your phone to do so with two hands, if you have to shoot at someone and kill them to stay alive, but you have the wherewithal to still hold your phone in your hand and not steady your aim with your second hand, dropping the phone, then you were never fearing for your life. And here's my issue. When did we stop believing in freedom in this country? When did we stop wanting to be free, fetishizing freedom in this country? Our Constitution offers every citizen freedom from unlawful detention. You are free to do whatever you want until law enforcement has a warrant for your arrest or until law enforcement can articulate a crime you are suspected of committing. The baseline that this starts from is you are allowed to do whatever the fuck you want until you are suspected of committing a crime. That's freedom. In an interaction with law enforcement, the citizen has freedoms that are guaranteed by the Constitution. The law enforcement officer is governed by very specific laws about what they can and cannot do to you. If they do not abide by those laws, then it's an illegal violation of your rights. You just need to comply with law enforcement. No, you don't. That's freedom. You do not need to comply with law enforcement unless they articulate a crime that you were suspected for. And even then, you have the rights against unlawful detention, meaning they have to follow the proper laws to detain you. And you still have a right to a free trial, which means it's their responsibility to apprehend you alive. Then and only then, if you're actively posing a threat to their life, are they allowed to use lethal force. And that lethal force is governed by very specific laws when it is justified and legal to use, and when it is not justified and they need to be tried for manslaughter and or murder. The laws are very clear on the use of lethal force, and the Supreme Court has weighed in a ton. Let's take using a motor vehicle as a weapon, for example. Lethal force is only justified if every other means to keep yourself safe is unavailable to you. Any laws, rules, regulations, and court rulings about lethal force when cars are being used as a weapon, it uses language specific to only using lethal force if it's your only option, including that you can't get out of the way. Meaning that if one of your options is to physically get out of the way of the car, lethal force is never justified. And as that officer didn't even need to move in order to get out of the way of the car, and even if he had shuffled slightly, he would have gotten out of the way of the car, lethal force was not justified. And in the most recent Supreme Court ruling, Barnes versus Felix from 2025, they ruled that you have to look at the full context of the threat. You cannot look at only the moment of the threat. So if you're out here saying, the car almost hit him, he was scared for his life, he had to shoot, we're not allowed to justify lethal force in just that moment. You have to look at all of the context leading up to that moment to determine whether or not lethal force was justified. So Law and Order, as it is written and as it has been ruled by the Supreme Court, by Trump's Supreme Court, you have to look at the fact that this guy was holding out his phone. He was walking to the front of the car. In the moment of using lethal force, he didn't even drop his phone. He continued to film. He was able to draw his weapon, fire, not have to move to stay out of the way of the car, and continue filming. All of that context goes into whether or not there was a reasonable justification for lethal force. And by the letter of the law, by the way the law is written, by the law and order lovers of this country, that was not justified use of lethal force. Any high-ranking official that came out immediately and started defending the use of force is making a mockery of our laws and our justice system. See, I filmed this whole video, and I never feared for my life once, and I still dropped my phone.